Hey guys, welcome back to Read Instead. I'm Jake. Glad to be with you this evening. It's been a hell of a year for me. I've mentioned this many times on this channel with you guys that I've had a great year of reading. I've read a lot of good books that have really moved me in many different ways. I've also learned some things about myself as a reader, and I was thinking about that earlier today, and I thought to myself, why don't I make a video talking about some things that I learned about myself as a reader so I could share that with you guys. Maybe some of you can identify with these things. Let me know. Let's talk about it. Okay, so before making this video, I just jotted down about 6 things that I feel like is different about me at the end of 2024 as opposed to the beginning of 2024. And first on the list, for me, this is going to be sort of a spoiler alert. I just have to tell you guys, I'm going to come out and say it. I will eventually make a top 10 my favorite authors list, but I can tell you now, unless something drastically changes, in the next year or so, Ken Follett is my favorite author. I've read 2 more books of his this year, and they were both awesome. And I've shared how much The Pillars of the Earth means to me. I've read, more of his books. I've read like 5 or 6 of his books. I believe maybe Stephen King and Bernard Cornwell are the only 2 authors in which I've read more books than Ken Follett. But every single one of the Ken Follett's books that I've ever read, I've really, really enjoyed. So just looking back, I write down all the books that I read just on a piece of paper. So at the end of the year, I can kind of look back, and it'll certainly help me when I go to make my top 10 books for 2024 video. I'll be able to look back. But when I saw those two books that I read of his this year, it just kind of reminded me, like, this guy's just so awesome. And I'm looking forward so much. There's so much more of in his catalog that I haven't read yet. His bibliography, that I look forward to reading. So, Ken Follett will definitely be on the agenda for 2025. That's it. I got to come out and say it. I got to be honest with you guys. Ken Follett is my favorite author. Okay, something else that I learned about myself in 2024. I like big books. Matter of fact, I think I like big books better than I do shorter books. Just sheer number-wise, I didn't read as many books this year. It's not going to end up being as many as I have in previous years, but I've read a lot of books that were like very chunky, 700-800 page books. If a book is well done and it's written well and it keeps your attention all the way till the end, it's a great journey to go on when you read a big epic novel. So, I used to, in past years, I've sort of been a little intimidated by bigger books and just the how much of an investment you got to put into it in time. But I'll tell you, I think going forward, I'm almost more sort of I'll be more prone to pick up a bigger book if it's something that catches my attention. So another thing that I learned about myself in 2024 is that I love big books. And I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. Okay, something else that I learned about myself in 2024. I like all genres, and I will continue, I think, for the rest of my life to read all genres. I don't, and I hope this doesn't come off like I'm, putting anybody down or anything like that, or it's like, listen, to each his own. Everybody is, especially when it comes to the genre of books you like to read. But I've never understood just being tied to 1 or 2 genres, and I noticed that a lot on, especially on booktube. Like, a lot of booktube channels will be geared towards sort of just fantasy or just science fiction, or at least the ones that I've come across. I could never do that. There's so many other genres that I love to read. Matter of fact, if I just read 1 or 2 genres, I would get burnt out, and my interests would start to change towards other things. Very similar. I always use this example. Like, I watch all different types of movies, and I'm into all different types of movies: dramas, war movies, fantasy movies, science fiction movies, all different types. once in a great, great while. A rom-com.
Not unless we're secure.
But so when it comes to, you know, the genres that I enjoy reading, it's the same. It's the same thing, and I don't think that'll ever change for me. And I certainly learned that more about myself this year. That I love everything. I love all different types of books, and I will continue to seek out books that I think will catch my interest. And the genre that it falls into has absolutely no bearing on whether I'm going to read it or not. So I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that. Let me know if you can. Okay, next up on something that I learned about myself in 2024 on my reading journey. I really like female protagonists. I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys, all right? Don't judge me. But, you know, in years past, I was never really into, you know, reading a book with a main character, especially the point of view character. If it was from the first person point of view, if that was female, that would be sort of a deterrent for me. It just, you know, it just was, for whatever reason. Maybe I thought that I couldn't, you know, I just couldn't see things through her eyes because we were two different, we were the opposite sex. I don't know. But I just wasn't, in years past, it just wouldn't interest me if it was a female protagonist. And this year I've read a number of books where there was a female protagonist, and I really found myself sometimes like even more intrigued than I would. Just, you know, if it's written by a female author and a female protagonist, you know, all those barriers that you think you might have because you're, you know, of the opposite sex, it doesn't matter because it's written so well, and you just kind of start to see things through that character. And also there was some, I never really had this before, but this year I've had some very memorable characters that are female that I really sort of, you know, every once in a while if it's a good book and a good read, you'll come across a character that you know is going to stick with you for a long, long time. And this year I had at least a couple female characters that I know I'm never going to forget. So that was something different that I learned about myself this year, is that I enjoy reading female protagonists. Okay, and last but not least, guys, I used to sort of beat myself up about how many books you know, I would read, how many books I'd get done. I was always trying to, you know, thinking back, like there were times when I was forcing myself to read even when I didn't want to so much, and it became, you know, just a little bit of a chore. I wasn't enjoying it as much if I was just doing it out of my own free volition. But I've learned to not beat myself up, and not worrying so much. As I mentioned to you guys before, my goal is always a book a week and to read about 50 books a year. I don't beat myself up if I don't reach that goal. I don't. And I want, every time I sit down to read, whether it's for 10 minutes before I go to bed or whether it's for 4 hours on a Saturday morning, I want to enjoy the experience with the book that I'm reading. So I used to beat myself up over reading a certain amount of books, but you know what? I'm just getting too old for that now. I got lots of different responsibilities, and you know what? I have different hobbies too. Reading isn't my only hobby in my life. I have many other hobbies, but I know now that when I sit down to read, I enjoy it every time, and you know, and that's still, you know, I still that ends up making me read, you know, dozens of books a year. So something that I used to do, beat myself up over making sure that I read 50 books a year, not so much anymore. So I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that. Let me know if you ever have. Alright guys, so just a little fun video I wanted to make for you guys. I'm going to try to do a few more of these sort of wrap-up videos as we get to the end of this year. Some sort of lists that we're gonna break out, and some just sort of, you know, we're tying the bow on top of 2024. So keep an eye out for some fun videos coming up over the next couple weeks. As always, guys, I hope you're reading something really, really good. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight and talking about books. I'll see you next time. Take care.